Good day, folks. Everything new under the sun. We are in the middle of World War III. I was watching a video, an interview at a church that included Steve Cioccolanti, and he was talking about the seals, Revelation chapter 6, the trumpets, the bowl judgments. And specifically, he was talking about the pandemic as being represented by the first seal, or the white horse. And he mentioned, well, what else is white? Well, doctors wear white robes or jackets, right? And this white horse, the person riding the white horse, had a bow, and it talks about corona, and it seems to describe what he believes was the coronavirus pandemic. And he believes that each of these seals lasts for about 3.5 years, and he suggests that the start and the end of the pandemic itself was about 3.5 years, from January 2020, 3.5 years into that. Interesting. So he thinks the next thing to come is the second seal, which is the red horse and war. Now, interesting that we're going up against Russia, which is red, with the red flag, and it represents war. We're in the middle of war, World War III. The world just doesn't want to admit it yet, but it's World War III is not going to look like World War II did, just as World War II didn't look very much like World War I in terms of how it was fought, the intelligence, the technology, etc. So we're in the middle of World War III. It's NATO against Russia. Everybody knows it. Putin has been saying it. NATO keeps denying it, although NATO's pumping money, ammunition, weaponry, air defense systems, tanks, etc. into Ukraine. And so I don't know what you call involvement, but NATO is directly involved in helping Ukraine battle Russia. To me, that's effectively World War III. That's as big as World War II was in terms of nations being involved in that. So again, interesting that the second seal is the red horse. Peace removed, violence breaks out. That's war, and against a country that has a red flag and is known. When you think of Russia, you think red. So is that? Now the third seal, I think, will come sooner. Steve Cioccolanti, I think, would say that the second seal would last for 3.5 years, and maybe that's the case. But the third seal, which is a black horse and the balance scales, huge inflation, oil and wine spared. This is the economic collapse. I think this comes right on the heels or at the same time as World War III, really commences in terms of a hot war between NATO directly and Russia, nuclear weapons used. I think the economy crashes right away. So does that, start 3.5 years after the war with Russia? Maybe, considering that Russia, invaded Ukraine last year, and was it 2022? And anyways, you know what I mean. Do they each last 3.5 years? I don't know. I don't think so. I think they overlap, and I think war is directly related to economic collapse. Now, that being said, what triggered World War II? Let's take a look at this here. Let me get rid of that. We'll go to this. So this is the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand was one of the key events that led to World War I. Sorry, World War I, not World War II. Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria, heir presumptive to the Austro-Hungarian throne, and his wife Sophie, Duchess of Hohenberg, were assassinated June 28th, 1914. So that led directly to World War II. That was the kickoff. That was the thing that they decided after the fact was kind of the beginning of that World War III. So is that going to happen in the future? It is a pattern, and to the Jews, pattern equals prophecy. And what do they say is occurring? What is the media saying is occurring in Ukraine right now? Well, this is Zero Hedge, and the media claims that there's an assassination attempt on Zelensky after a missile strike strikes near his motorcade. Now, is this basically the Archduke Ferdinand moment for World War III? Is this the kickoff? I don't know. I'm just saying it's happened before. There, when there's a big assassination, and that usually kicks off, whether it be riots, uprisings, etc. That could be what is happening here. Now, this is interesting here as we talk about economic collapse, which again I think comes at the same time as World War III. As Egypt implements massive devaluation of currency, sending pound tumbling, unrest, and instability on the horizon. Again, you have this economic collapse, this trouble with the currency, combined and intertwined, happening hand in hand with World War III. As countries start to collapse because the debt is overly burdensome, they will take you to war. When all else fails, they take you to war. I think Gerald Celente is the person who used to always say that. This is RT.com, of course, Russian propaganda, of course, right? And they've destroyed another Abrams tank in Donbass. So again, going back to, is NATO in Ukraine? For all intents and purposes, they are absolutely in Ukraine. They have personnel on the ground, and they say they're just for training purposes, whatever it may be. But this is World War III. This is a battle of NATO, who has troops on the ground, and now France, Macron is talking about putting troops on the ground. They're calling them peacekeepers. Remember, it's all lies in this day and age. You don't declare war anymore. You don't put troops with U.S. flags on their shoulders, patches, and send them in. Now you send in mercenaries for plausible deniability, because you don't really want to get into war, because the public doesn't like war and the public doesn't want to support war. So if you are losing money, if you're going into economic collapse, if you want to preserve your hegemony as the U.S. does with the world reserve currency and world policeman status, then you need to go into war without saying you're at war. And they do that by paying off people, sending money in, sending peacekeepers, quote unquote, sending ammunition and other technologies in there, so that other people can do, start the war for you. And the government of the U.S., the government of NATO nations, can say, well, it wasn't our fault. We were just supporting, a non-member nation in Ukraine. So everything in the news spells war. We are in the middle of it. Again, it doesn't look like World War II. It doesn't look like World War I. It's completely different. It's asymmetric warfare. It includes guerrilla warfare. Again, you look at Israel and Hamas. They're not two, armies from individual countries with badges on their shoulders, lining up one in front of the other, and shooting back and forth. Everything's changed with technology, with the use of drones in Ukraine and Russia. It means you don't even need to kill humans anymore, although lots of Ukrainians being killed. They send in drones, and it's really flipped everything on its side. There was a Russian battleship that was sunk by drones, by boat drones. They're just remotely controlled boats with explosives on board, and they're controlled by Ukraine somewhere, probably over satellite or something. And those drone boats crashed into. I think I have the video here. I think this is a picture of. Well, there's no audio anyways, but this is a picture of basically Russian sailors on this ship, the Caesar Kunikov, Russian warship, and they're shooting at these Ukrainian drone boats. Again, no humans on board, and they're hard to get. They sent a bunch of these drones, and these drones just crashed into the side of the warship, and they sunk this warship. This warship was, billions of dollars, and they only have so many of them. Do they have 100 warships? I don't know if Russia has 100 warships. I doubt it. But with $10,000 drone, they took out a likely million or $1 billion warship with a remote control boat, effectively. So this is the new war. This is the face of war in 2024. It's asymmetrical. They're coming to terms with it. It's not a battle of really bullets anymore. Conventional warfare. There's a big explosion there. It took out the guy with the camera. It's not a battle of conventional warfare with bullets and bombs. It's a technology battle now, and it's incredible to see. And I would say this, knowing that we are in the middle of World War III, and it doesn't look like what you think it is. The government will not tell us we're in World War III, and probably until nukes fly. And they want to keep it under wrap as long as possible because the civilians will start protesting against war. They will start saying things against war. And, it's not good politics to be at war. No one wants to be at war. So with that being said, you should get your supplies stocked up, refreshed. Here's a list from my family. It's a very practical family, a very practical list of things we need to top up on: toilet paper, tampons, Tylenol, vitamins, Band-Aids, rice, beans, soup, sauces, canned meat, oil, vinegar, baking soda, yeast, salt, sugar, flour, candles, matches, lamp oil. It goes on and on. And, those are kind of very basic things. But I would recommend go out and get these things now because we're getting very, very close to open warfare between NATO and Russia. By the way, the largest ever exercise happening with off the shores of Finland, I believe it is, as Finland and Sweden become NATO members, is happening as we speak. We have a personal friend who is involved in that. And on a ship, actually, I believe participating in those exercises. There's a ship or a view of the drone, which basically just sails right into the side of the ship and blows it up. And so if they can shoot it with their guns and maybe explode it before it hits, then it's good. Here, you can see them kind of going in circles trying to get away from the incoming bullets so that it can get in. But eventually one of these videos does show it getting in there. So folks, be prepared. We are in the last days, and could it very well be that the pandemic was the first seal? I'm not going to say no to that. I think it's a very interesting idea when you look at the corona, the word corona, and the coronavirus, and the coming on the white horse there, representing maybe doctors giving something to address that. Very, very interesting. Because so then, do we move into the second seal? And is war about to break out? Well, yeah, it actually is. So could that be an interpretation of the Revelation 6 seals? Very much. So what would you expect? Well, World War III and economic collapse. Those are the next seals to be broken open there. So be prepared, folks. We're living through this. I don't think we're going to be raptured. I think you'll be surprised. We're going to be here for many of the seals getting into the fifth seal, even, folks, before the wrath of God falls. And the sixth seal is where the earthquake happens, the sun and moon darkens. And this is what happens just before the coming of the Son of Man, and when he brings his wrath. So I believe we'll be there. In this, yeah, you can see what I'm looking at. The seventh seal being the rapture of the church there. So I believe we live through that, folks. This is what you need to be prepared for. World War III, economic collapse, great sicknesses and famines and disease going through, and even martyrdom for the cause of Christ in these last days, folks. We could very well be right in it, and it's an interesting interpretation by Steve Cioccolanti about this. And I've always said, I don't know exactly what's going to happen. My timeline of the return of the Lord could be inaccurate. I'm just saying, look, things are getting bad, and they will get continually and exponentially worse as we get farther into this. So I'll leave there, guys. Thanks for watching. Share the video. Hit the like button. That helps out the channel. We'll see you guys in the next video.